What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome in to the series preview as the Seattle Mariners will get ready to finish up this homestand with a 3-game set against the Cincinnati Reds starting tomorrow on Jackie Robinson Day. Monday and Tuesday will be night games. Wednesday will be a day game. I'm going to break down the series for you, preview the Reds pitchers we'll be seeing, a little bit of their offense, and talk about the series in general. Before I do that, do me a favor, hit like on the video. It helps out tremendously. And hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much. I've hit 3,000 subscribers. I was blown away when I had 100 subscribers. So to have 3,000 just means the world to me. Thank you guys so much. And thank you guys that all joined the live stream today. After that tough Mariners loss to the Cubs. I think it was kind of a good therapy session for all of us. We kind of got some of our frustrations out. So that was, it was a lot of fun despite a tough loss. Always enjoy talking baseball with all of you. So that definitely helps. Let's hope the Mariners can get going. I mean, let's throw this one away today and hope that tomorrow's a better day and they can win their first series of the year. It is not going to be easy. This is a very young, talented, hungry Cincinnati Reds team. We saw them last year in the series in September in Cincinnati where they took 2 out of 3. They had a big comeback in game 2. The Mariners did pull out the third game of that series. But this is a good baseball team that's feisty. They can compete and they could win the NL Central. It's a good baseball team. They're going to throw 3 good pitchers at the Mariners, and their offense is very capable. So the Mariners have their work cut out for them. I'd like to predict they'll win the series just based on, my gosh, aren't they going to win a series at some point this year? They will. But, I mean, that's really all I've gotten. So if we're just going off 2024, the Reds have been the much better team. They're sitting at 9-6, and the underlying numbers look better as well. Obviously, still very early in the year. But like I said, this is not a bad baseball team coming in here. This is another good baseball team the Mariners going to have to face. And listen, if you want to be good, if you want to compete, you got to start beating good baseball teams. Nothing wrong with beating up on the A's if you do that. Nothing wrong with beating up on teams like the Rockies and the White Sox. You need to do that, but you do have to at some point win a series against a good team. Maybe this will be the one for the Seattle Mariners. So tomorrow night, Jackie Robinson Day, game starts at 6:42. I'm assuming the players will be in the number 42 uniforms. So that's always really cool to see. And the Reds will throw right-hander Frankie Montas on the hill. He will be opposed by George Kirby for the Seattle Mariners. A lot of you should know Frankie Montas spent a lot of years in the American League West, no stranger to facing the Seattle Mariners when he was in Oakland Athletic. He was traded to the Yankees at the 22 deadline, the same deadline in which the Mariners acquired Luis Castillo from the Cincinnati Reds. A lot of trades happened between the Mariners and the Reds. Winker and Suarez, Luis Castillo. So a lot of history between these teams and some crossovers with players. But Montas was a guy that I wouldn't have minded the Mariners being involved for. Obviously, Castillo was the better bet in 22. But I think I even did a video talking about Montas back then. Unfortunately for the Yankees, came over and was hurt. Pitched a little bit for them in 22, then missed pretty much all of 23, made one start. But he's off to a nice start for the Reds in 24. They gave him a lot of money, and so far, it has paid off for the Cincinnati Reds. Small sample, but he's looked like a good bounce back candidate. Let's go over some of the numbers for Montas. Not going to look at 23. He only made one start. Let's go back to 22, where he split time between Oakland and the Yankees. He pitched in 144 innings, 4.05 ERA, 3.78 FIP, 142 strikeouts, and 43 walks. If you remember, he almost no-hit the Mariners in, was that 22? Yeah, it was in 22. In Oakland, it was a game where the Mariners won like 2-1 on 2 wild pitches by AJ Puck, if you remember that game. But Montas was phenomenal. Later in the year, he pitched in Seattle and was not as sharp. Julio got him for a home run. I think the Mariners roughed him up pretty good. So far in 2024, Montas has pitched 16 2/3 innings, 2.16 ERA, 3.19 FIP. He has struck out 13 and walked 4. Fastball, slider, and splitter that you're going to see from Frankie Montas. So far, so good. The return on Montas, like I said, he's, obviously we're looking at 3 starts, so not a huge sample, but looking much more like the 2022 Frankie Montas. And with the way the Mariners are swinging the bats, I mean, you can't overlook any starting pitcher. Obviously they've seen Montas before. Most of these guys have, so should have some idea what you're going to get going up against him. Obviously, if you just want to look at Montas's numbers and the Mariners' numbers, you would expect Montas to be able to shut them down. Baseball is weird. I'll still say that even if the Mariners are 30-80, there's no guarantee that, someone's going to shut them down. An offense can always break out. Hopefully this is the series for the Mariners. It'll be an interesting series because you won't have Dom Canzone. He's going to be headed to the injured list with his shoulder injury. It looks like Brian Anderson, who was removed from Tacoma, will come up. I know some people were hoping for Samad Taylor, maybe Cade Marlowe, or even I mentioned in the stream signing Tommy Pham, but it sounds like Pham's going to sign a minor league deal with the White Sox. Listen, I don't love any of the options. Taylor's my preferred guy. I'm guessing they're going with Anderson to just maybe a little bit better of a bat. Not that Anderson's numbers are great either. Listen, you're not picking from Hall of Famers here, so nobody's going to be perfect. But I'm guessing the thought is that maybe Brian Anderson can give them a little bit more oomph with the bat. And with Kirby and Logan going, they're willing to sacrifice a little defense with this pitching staff, which has already been a little suspect, the defense at least. So we'll see how that works out. No official news on that, but it looks like it'll be Brian Anderson. So with Montas on the mound, I would expect to see obviously Cal behind the plate, Ty at first, Polanco, JP, Rojas, Luke Raley should get the start left. Julio should be back in center. And I imagine we'll see Mitch Haniger. I think Haniger will get a day off in this series. Mitch Garver probably could use a day off too. He has been scuffling, but with Canzone being out, there's just not a lot of opportunity to go around. I mean, you could throw Rojas at second, Anderson at third, and Polanco could DH. Wouldn't shock me if they do something like that. You could throw Dylan Moore in right field, give Haniger a day off. So they can certainly do things. And I'm all for, like, Julio had a day off today. That's totally fine. Not against giving Mitch Garver days off for Mitch Haniger. Haniger, especially because of the injury history. And same with Garver. But eventually you need these guys to get going, right? Like, I'm all for mental health days and stuff. I totally get that. I'm a huge advocate for that stuff. But they also need these guys to play ball and just heat up. I mean, eventually it's like, we need you. You got to hit. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So we'll see what they throw out there, but I imagine lineup similar to that. Second game of the year, the Mariners will face the young flamethrower Hunter Green. Remember, he made his debut. I want to say it was in 21, and he was out there throwing 100 in the early innings. He's touching 99, so he can bring the heat. In 2023, Hunter Green pitched in 112 innings, 152 strikeouts to 48 walks, 4.82 ERA, a little high in the ERA, but 4.25 FIP. So far in 24, just like Montas, 16 and 2/3 innings. He has struck out 22 and walked just 4. ERA is a little high at 4.86, but the FIP has gone down at 3.97. Fastball, slider, threw a change a little bit last year, hasn't thrown it this year, and he throws a splitter as well. Listen, the story on the Mariners this year has been don't throw him fastballs, although Assad threw a lot of fastballs today, and the Mariners missed a lot of fastballs down the middle of the plate. Early in the year, I think that was the key. Well, we're still early in the year, but very early in the year, they were just getting a lot of breaking balls, not hitting them. Now they're not even hitting fastballs down the middle. So I don't know what the secret is to getting the Mariners out. I guess being able to throw a baseball might be the secret so far this year. Listen, the FIP a little high. The ERA has been a little high for Hunter Green, but the stuff is electric. Like I said, the guy's touching 99. Slider and splitter, I know that splitter can get close to 88, 89, I believe. So the arsenal's there. Like I said, the ERA is still a little high this year so far at 4.86, but that FIP's 3.97. So the underlying numbers look pretty good. He's striking guys out. He's not walking a lot of guys. So again, one thing the Mariners can do, they have drawn some walks recently. They put up some better plate appearances, but so far Montas and Green have avoided the free passes here in 2024 and even in their last full season. So a young electric arm who, like I said, hasn't been perfect, but is certainly capable of delivering some quality starts. And then he'll be going up against Logan Gilbert. So it should be a fun pitching matchup. Listen, I will say this. While I respect Montas and Hunter Green, think they're good arms, and the Mariners bats have, not shown that they're capable of getting to pitchers yet, I do think the Mariners have the pitching matchups advantages, the advantage in the pitching matchups. Even though George Kirby hasn't looked great the last 2 starts, I'm still obviously a big believer in George Kirby. I think he'll be fine. And Logan Gilbert's been fantastic this year. So I will take the Mariners in those starting pitching matchups. It's just about the offenses. Can the Mariners offense do enough to muster up? I would have taken Castillo over Assad today, but it didn't matter because the Mariners offense couldn't come through. So that's really what it's going to hinge on. The pitching matchups, like I said, I'm not saying favorable, like I'm on the mound for the Reds, but I do think the Mariners have the advantage there. So hopefully the offense can come through for him and Kirby and Gilbert can be solid. Andrew Abbott will pitch game 3 for the Cincinnati Reds. Last year in 109 innings, he struck out 120, 44 walks, 3.87 ERA, 4.2 FIP. So far in 2024, 2.6 ERA, 3.59 FIP, 17 innings, 11 strikeouts, 4 walks, fastball, slider, curve, and change from Andrew Abbott. Another good young arm. These are all guys, well, not Montas. Montas been around for a while, but Green and Abbott, who are pretty new. I think their second full seasons. For Green, it might be his third. And for Abbott, it's his second or third. So some good young arms on the hill that have thrown good in the past. Don't walk a lot of guys. Can miss bats. So another tough test. Bryce Miller, who has been phenomenal for the Mariners so far in 2024, probably their best pitcher so far, will be opposing Abbott on Wednesday. So we'll see if Bryce Miller can, bring his A game to the table. And, again, another game that I think the Mariners. Sorry, I had to pause the video for a second, but another game where the Mariners, I think, should have the pitching advantage. Abbott is the lefty that the Mariners will face in this series, so we'll probably see Urias in that game. I imagine we'll see Brian Anderson, assuming it is Anderson coming up in that game. Zavala will probably catch that game. We'll see how that goes. Maybe a good game to get Mitch Garver going. Hopefully, you should see Mitch Haniger in the lineup. I'd expect Haniger to get one of the next 2 games off. So same with Garver. I'd actually expect them to probably switch. Garver will get one day off, Haniger the other, and they should both be in the lineup against the lefty on Wednesday. So we'll see what the Mariners can do. Again, I think the Mariners do have the pitching matchup advantage in all 3. Not enough where I'm sitting there going like, oh yeah, nothing slam dunk with the Mariners right now. But I do think they have the better pitcher going in all 3 games. But it's not enough where it's like, yeah, it overrides what the offenses are capable of doing. So let's get into the offenses a little bit. Some standout players for the Reds so far in 2024 be left fielder Spencer Steer, who is putting up a 211 WRC plus so far through 15 games. He's already amassed 1 full win above replacement level. I don't even think the Mariners as a team have amassed 1 win above replacement level so far this season. They probably haven't. Maybe Rojas and Dylan Moore or something. But obviously, Steer's not going to run a 211 WRC plus. His BABIP is well over 400. So that's going to come down a little bit. But Spear's a tremendous player, and he's off to a great start in 2024. As is shortstop Ellie De La Cruz. He burst onto the scene last year. Tall guy, fast, cannon for an arm, and a lot of fun. Really fun player. 173 173 WRC plus so far this year for De La Cruz. Again, running a bit of a high BABIP. That will come down, but still a sensational start. Former Mariner Jake Fraley, who's been platooned, is running a 141 WRC plus. I'm not going to lie, looking back on it, man, it's funny that I think the Geno aspect of the trade definitely worked out, but it's kind of interesting that Fraley has essentially been better than Jesse Winker. And I always like Jake Fraley when he's here. He's a beard inspiration guy for me. A couple people have told me I look like Fraley. I don't know. Maybe I've also been told I look like a lot of other people. So, but I'm a big Jake Fraley fan, and good for him having success. Definitely a guy fitting great, I think, with this current Mariners. I mean, with Rayleigh and Canzone, I don't know if it would be there, or the playing time would be there. But nice start for Jake Fraley. So good for him. Some other guys in the lineup: Jonathan India. Who is rumored to be a Mariner rumored to be a Mariner about 500 times. Will Benson, and Encarnacion Strand, who's off to a really slow start. Jamer Candelario was signed in free agency. He's been playing from third. Nick Martini, who had that big home run off Justin Topa last year, has been DHing. Tyler Stevenson's their catcher. He's been off to a pretty good start. 725 OPS, 99 WRC plus. Not amazing or anything like that, but certainly good enough to give the Mariners some fits, and certainly an offensive number that if you were the Mariners, you would absolutely sign up for it and take it all the way. I think I had some other numbers here. Yep. A couple other notes for the Reds offense. Obviously, former Mariner Noelvi Marte is suspended for 80 games. He came up last year for the Reds, did a nice job. Marte, obviously, in the Luis Castillo trade. This is my thoughts on that trade. I feel like I'll talk about it here since it's a good time, since we're playing the Reds. I didn't do a video on it at the time. I was kind of in between doing videos and just didn't have time to make them at that point. But my thoughts on the trade were this. I thought it was a win for the Mariners. I also thought it was a win for the Reds. The Mariners were fighting for a playoff spot. They went out and got the best pitcher on the market, and it helped put them over the top, and they wouldn't have had the run they did in 22 without Luis Castillo. I also think that at the time, I wouldn't be shocked if the Reds amassed more WAR out of the trade, wins above replacement level, than the Mariners did. That's always the thing when you make those trades. When you're the team making the short-term deal, you're willing to give up maybe some potential long-term players to win now. So it's not a bad thing. People come back in 10 years and go, oh, see, the Reds won because they amassed more WAR out of that trade. Sure, and that's great for the Reds. I'm not hating on that. They made the right move too. But that doesn't make it a wrong move for the Seattle Mariners to make that trade either. So I think it's worked out pretty well for both sides so far. Obviously, the Marte suspension hurts, but he'll be back for the second half of the year. If the Reds can stay in contention, which I think they will, they should get a nice little boost here in the second half of the year with Noelvi Marte coming back. In 2023, the Reds ranked 17th in baseball in WRC plus with the 98 WRC plus. And in 2024, they rank 18th with a 98 WRC plus. A lot of hot hitters, a lot of cold hitters on the Red. You got guys like Strider, or excuse me, not Strider, Steer, who are killing it so far, and Dela Cruz. Then you got Candelari's off to a bit of a slow start, and so is Encarnacion Strand. So kind of a balance there, as opposed to the Mariners, who are just cold all around. The Mariners are currently 28th in baseball with a 78 WRC plus. The Mariners are only ahead of the Miami Marlins and the Chicago White Sox, who are both, I think, a combined like 5-26 this year. So again, the Mariners are fortunate to be 6-10. I still like this team. I still like this roster, but their 16 games, they are very lucky that they are 6-10. Now, I think their pitching is a little bit better than Miami and Chicago, which has allowed them to stay afloat, getting quality starts from Bryce Miller, Logan Gilbert, and Munoz, Spire at the back end have helped a little bit as well. So the Reds were essentially kind of a league average offense the last year and so far this year, which again would be great for the Mariners. I would kill to have league average right now. So we'll see. Like, I think a lot of boom and bust kind of with that Reds offense. Certainly guys that can kill you and hurt you. But also some guys that are slumping a little bit to start the year. Listen, again, going to be a tough series. This is a good Reds team. I like the makeup of this team. I think they are a team that can definitely. They remind me a little bit like the Baltimore of the National League. A lot of young talent, building it through the draft and through trades, and then getting those free agent pieces to kind of fill in there a little bit. So I don't make predictions in these series. And just so you guys know, it's not that I'm not wanting to throw predictions out there, but this isn't like football where I can, evaluate like, hey, the Seahawks should win this game because of this. I mean, baseball's weird. The Braves were swept by the A's last year. On paper, yeah, I think the Mariners can take 2 out of 3. I think they have the better pitching pitchers in all 3 games. That's not a knock on the Reds pitchers. The Reds offense has been better. I hope and assume at some point the Mariners offense is going to get going. It can't be this bad. We've said that before and it's not turned around, but I mean, it just can't. Like Julio, Mitch Garver, Cal, JP are, even if you don't like those guys, I know I'm a broken record here, they are better than the numbers they're putting up. So let's see if they can get going this series. Hopefully the Mariners can take 2 out of 3. Would love to get it started with a W tomorrow night, get the series off to a good start, and get this team, if they can win a series, get a little bit closer to 500. You could come out of the series at 8-11. Then you go to Colorado, who is very beatable. Then you go to Texas. So it's like, listen, it's not going to be easy. And even the Rockies, while they're not good, it's every team gets their win somewhere. They're not going to go 0-162. So even a team like that is going to get wins on their schedule. So hopefully the Mariners can win a series. Haven't done it yet. Maybe this is the time. We'll see. Enjoy the series, everybody. I'll be here tomorrow night for a post-game recap for the Reds and the Mariners. Enjoy it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. Have a great night and go Mariners. Peace.